Oh, yeah.
Oh, are we live?
We are live. We are
Sweet.
recording.
Nice.
I'll let,
Did
I'll
I?
let the Twitter sphere know.
Did you need to? Did you need me to record on like Audacity or something? We've been having some slight
It
problems
makes
with
our
that lately.
it makes our video not work well.
Okay, then
So
let's.
let's not. It'll be fine.
All
Do I sound
right.
okay?
You sound great.
Oh, well, thank you.
Just smooth and like a baby's behind that was podcasting. You know what? That's not. I think I could have done better than that.
We could. It's all right. All right. I'm letting. I'll do it during the intro. Should we do the intro? Are we good? Are we happy to? Are we on the same page? I guess first before.
No, I just a second
Okay.
ago I thought I was doing Gravity Falls first, so I've
Okay.
kind of I gotta reset my headspace.
All right.
I gotta
I got.
I gotta tweet some things.
All right. I'm gonna get. I got my notes up for Severance now. I'm gonna get the Discord going. Hey everyone, Colin Swinburne's here. Hello. Hello Satoshi. Levels are good. Vink's gain is slightly too loud.
That's what all my ex-girlfriends have told me.
Oh no. I've learned, despite my prior incredulity on occasion, that Satoshi is always right about these things. So
Dang it! Yeah, I hate that Satoshi's always right. Okay, Gravity Falls, Severance, pretty much the same show. I guess I'm ready.
yeah.
I forget which
All
one's
the-
for kids. I forget which
Oh
one's for
boy.
kids.
Neither.
Whew.
Well, that's pretty good though. This is the stuff that you don't get in the audio version, people. So be glad that
Yeah.
you're here, or that you're
Oh, yeah.
watching it later, even if you weren't here.
Yep.
Oh, speaking of which, I got to get my whole hog pumpkin ale going for the evening,
Ooh.
because I'm going to talk about Severance. I can't do it completely of my right mind.
I forgot to bring a drink of any sort.
You want to get one?
I'm gonna,
Okay.
because this is the
You get
stuff
one.
that people pay to see. You guys can peruse my game shelf
Yeah.
while I'm gone.
While you're gone,
Move that chair.
we'll have a good old time. Yeah. How you doing, guys? It's been a hot minute since we did a Two Boobs podcast. I've been watching a lot of TV. I'm sure we'll get into it in the podcast here. I don't know when I'm going to mention it during either of the two shows, because there's so much TV that I watch now. But I just started watching Raised by Wolves on HBO Max, and it's interesting. Directed by Ridley Scott. Can you believe that? He directed every episode. That's just insane to me.
Nice cool water.
All right. Probably better than what I have.
I'm forgoing the sodas for a little while because I have been trying and, to a certain extent, succeeding to lose weight.
Awesome. That's good. I have a hard time cutting back myself, and it's mostly for the caffeine content, which is
Yes.
a much bigger reason for me to do it.
I have switched to, for my caffeine intake, it's just black coffee now.
Ooh, okay.
Yep. I mean, I'm not in it for the flavor. I'm sure eventually I will develop a palate for delicious coffee, but right now I just drink it for the effect.
Right.
All right, shall we?
Oh, Compatal's here. I'm going to say hello to Mark McNulty's here.
Mark. Yeah, I was just talking with Mark earlier. We were checking out this game.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, it's by Atlas.
That wasn't Primal Rage. That's Primal Image. I don't think I know
Primal
that one.
Image. Yes. You
Boy, that's
probably
the
have
wrong
not heard of that
podcast.
game. Wrong. Listen. I know we started this podcast because we keep going off topic in the other podcast about TV, but I think it's equally important that we go off topic about video games in the TV podcast.
Oh no. Okay. That's fine.
All right.
All right, let's get this thing
Shall we?
started.
Let's
All right.
do.
The correct intro. I got it. Here we go.
Do it.
From the creators of the video game podcast Famicom Dojo
They still make that?
and the enthusiastic support of the Nerd and Tie Network
Yeah, do whatever you want.
comes a podcast about the single most important question in human history.
What is the meaning of life?
Will I ever find love?
Can God create a rock so big even Pumpkin Man cannot
How
lift
can
it?
I find fulfillment?
What happens after you
Does this look infected to
Is there
you?
such a thing as karma or fate?
What is true? Have you guys seen my keys?
What should I be watching on TV?
Every episode of Two Boobs Watch the Tube, Vink and his best bra, Sean Orange, take a shallow dive into a current or retro TV show. Will they love it?
I guess.
Will they hate it?
No one-
Will they fight about it?
No one cares.
Did Sean even watch it?
No.
Is Vink still listening as Sean talks about Transformers?
Definitely not.
These questions and more will be answered on
Two Boobs Watch the Tube.
Oh, sorry. Thought it was a bit longer than that. Okay. For you audio only listeners, Vink danced a little bit longer than necessary, or not long enough, depending on how necessary it was.
It really does depend.
So, it hasn't
Music
actually been that
long,
long. It hasn't been that long since
Right.
the last episode.
That's true.
So it's good that we're getting these in made.
Right.
Some people have a way with words, and some people, I don't know, don't have way.
We're from Wisconsin. We're all about curds and whey.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Mostly just the curds, though, not so
Oof.
much the whey.
Indeed. Oof.
Who was it? I was so there's a new show on Nerd and Tie,
Yeah.
the Casual Trek podcast, and that reminds me that I need
Yeah.
to update our intro with their voices somehow.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm reminded of, I think it's on their
We
bonus
could add new
episode.
questions.
Yes, we definitely need new questions.
I think our listeners should be able to submit their deep
Ooh,
questions, so we
yeah.
can. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I like that.
We can probably eliminate the pumpkin man one.
Yeah, so if you notice, there's like I just remembered this. There's like a slight watermark
Yeah.
of Pumpkin Man in the video when you watch the overlay there. So
Really?
I forgot I did that. I mean,
Okay.
someone, I don't know who would have done that. Copyright infringement. Anyway, Miles went on to say that even though the Scottish have deep fried everything, they somehow didn't manage to throw a block of cheese into a deep fryer, and Wisconsin did. So
You'd think
does-
it would
what does
happen
that
just
tell
by
you?
accident. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
They're
It's
deep
like,
frying
whoops.
everything. They're deep frying everything, and the people who are deep frying anything are like working at pubs. There's alcohol all around.
Right,
How did
right.
cheese not get involved there at some
I
point?
don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so Vink, tell me what you watch, what you really, really watch.
I'll tell you what I watch. What I really, really watch. I watched. It has been a time of repeat viewings. Because for the first time in years, my wife's starting to get interested in watching television again. For a very long time, the kids were young, very hard to get to sleep, and just exhausted by the end of it. So, we watched our TV independently. But so my wife and I have watched through Severance. So that was my second watch. And we
very
just
good.
finished Ted Lasso, which was one of our first episodes. Yeah.
Oh man, when's season 3 coming out? When are we gonna
I
review
hear-
season 2?
I don't know. I hear that I got things to say about season 2.
Okay,
But I hear
okay.
there's been some delays
Okay.
with season 3.
Well, good for us.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes.
Okay.
Oh, and
Nice.
I've been watching What We Do in Shadows.
Oh, which one? Which service was that on? Remind me.
For me, crazy
Yeah.
enough, Disney Plus.
That is interesting.
For you, I think it would be
Who knows?
Hulu. I think it would be either
Probably.
Hulu or who makes that? FX. So who gets the FX programs in the US?
Well,
I
it could
think
be
was
Disney
Hulu.
because
Oh, was
that's a
it?
Fox subsidiary now, right? So I don't.
That could be.
It depends.
That could
It
be.
depends. It's hard to know.
Yeah, but I watch it on Disney Plus, which is
Okay.
seems strange to me because it's very not Disney.
Right.
It's Have you watched it?
No, I've heard of it, but I haven't watched
Have
it. There
you
are a lot of
watched?
shows I haven't watched.
Have you watched the movie that it's based off of?
No.
Okay, and that's on Netflix,
Okay.
or at least was. That's where I watched it, and it's fantastic. As a movie, because I came in with zero expectations. A friend of mine came to work and he said, "Hey, have you seen What We Do in Shadows?" And I'm like, "Dark Shadows?" And he's like, "No, no, no." And I'm like, "What is it?" And he's like, "It's about vampires." And I'm like, "Eh." And he's like, "But it's a mockumentary." And I'm like, "That
That's
sounds
interesting.
that sounds horrible." I was like, and he's like, and it's made in New Zealand or something like that. Like all of these things is like, and it's like no budget. And I'm like, oh, it's going to be one of those things that's trying too hard. You know what I mean? But no, it was great. It was fantastic. And the series that they made for it has Matt Berrien, who's hilarious. Did you watch the IT Crowd?
Yes.
He was the second boss.
I didn't watch enough of the IT Crowd, apparently.
Okay.
Spoilers.
Well, add that to the list.
What
Add
happened to
that
Jen?
the list. No, Jen was never the boss. She was like the manager.
Oh, okay.
The first boss was the guy from Brass Eye. What's his name? This is why we should prepare things.
I don't know.
This is why we should prepare things.
I will say though that I watched This Is 40 because now I'm actually old enough to understand it.
Okay.
And Chris O'Dowd is in that, but he also had a great Hulu series called Moon Boy.
Oh yeah.
Extremely Irish, very good. Takes place during the night. He plays basically an imaginary friend of his younger self in the 90s.
Okay. We got lots of things to add to the list. But anyway,
Yeah.
that's what I've been watching. So tell me what you watch, what you really, really watch.
Oh, well, so funny enough, TV shows based on movies. Well, I'll get back to that. The first thing I wanted to mention was I've been watching Sex Education on Netflix because Ncuti Gatwa is going to be the new Doctor, so I had to bone up on his previous work, no pun intended, or pun very intended,
yeah.
I guess. Yeah. And I got to the second season before I switched back to something else.
I watched the first episode of that and I thought it was okay. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know why I didn't proceed further. I don't know. Some things are slow burn. I don't know. What do you say? Should I continue with that one or?
Yeah, it congeals a bit later about what the whole plot is. Although there's something about a guy pining for a girl that's going to come into play for another show we're going to talk about later.
Oh, okay. Okay. We'll save that then.
Gillian Anderson is great.
Yep.
Yeah, good times.
Okay.
But also I've been watching The Time Traveler's Wife on HBO Max, which they made a TV series out of.
I was just about to say, wasn't that a movie? I watched it.
It is a movie.
Yeah.
It's also on HBO. So I watched the TV show. It's like 6 episodes of the first season, and then I went back and I watched the movie. I had seen it before. I had forgotten completely about it. But the TV show is done by Steve Moffat, who immediately lets you know in the first episode that he wrote Doctor Who because there are constant small little in-joke references to it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we'll ever talk about it on this show, but he lifts a line directly from the first time River Song meets the Doctor, and then I realize, River Song was based on this book. I bet. I bet. So there's even like a
Ah.
marker, like a silver blue tipped marker that's obviously a sonic screwdriver, in like the second or third episode. It's just full of stuff like that.
Yeah, anything Russell T Davis ever did has Doctor Who references in it, and any Doctor Who he ever did had references to his other stuff. So yeah.
Right. Well,
Yep.
fortunately or unfortunately, the series got canceled, so there won't be a second season. They won't do the whole plot of the book after
You know,
all.
I was reading something about the Netflix algorithm that they're using. Like, I don't know, it came up on one of my feeds or whatever, and about how like there's not very much human input as to whether a show continues or not. It's like entirely based on these analytics, which is ridiculous because most of like what we consider the best series ever made got good in their second series. You know what I mean? Like so they were talking about if these analytics, were in place back in the day, there's no possible way Seinfeld would have been renewed for its second season. There's
Much less
so like,
yeah.
all of these things. So like, I'm very nervous to get interested in a new show until it's got a couple seasons under its belt, unless it won an Emmy or something. So like what I'm doing now is I've got the list of the Emmy winners, and I'm gonna watch. So I'm gonna watch just a lot. I'm just gonna watch the winners because it's like those things have a chance of or I really want to see White Lotus. I've heard a lot of good things about it, but I don't have HBO Max, and I don't know exactly how I'm going to see it here, but I'm going to try.
Well, there's a whole story there because we haven't talked about it in this show yet, but there's a whole HBO Max meltdown going on because of the Warner Brothers Discovery merger. There's rumors of like them also merging with what's the other Paramount, and I just no thank you. But
now I'm gonna we'll spin back to that on the other episode we're filming tonight because I have things to say about it, but it's more applicable to the second episode. Okay,
fair enough. But you mentioned not wanting to watch a show before it gets to second season, and yet you watch Severance. Transition.
Wow. By the way, Severance sounds like the thing we do to test our microphones. Testing, 1, 2, wow. Severance. Severance is a show, but like Apple TV is so much better with that, though.
Apple TV is just so much better in general because
there is no reason why like Smidgedoon should get a second series, because it didn't set the world on fire. You never heard much about it, but like it's getting a cult following, and with a second series, it might. The same with, I was so surprised that Acapulco got renewed. Like Apple TV has only ever canceled one show after its first season, and that was the Mr. Corman, whatever, because it just got bad reviews and bad everything. But they're willing to like C never should have got a third season because it's super expensive to make, and it never got the right. It never, but still, it Netflix would have cut the cord after one season easily.
Well, hey man, listen. Now I'm sensing a pattern here. Like we just happened to review all of those shows in this podcast. They all got renewed. We talked about Mr. Corman like 3 or 4 times how I don't enjoy watching it, and it got canceled. I'm just saying, Apple, I know you're listening. I know they want to end Ted Lasso after 3 seasons. Don't let them.
We are the analytics that Apple TV uses.
Obviously.
Oh my goodness. Because
it makes so much sense.
Yeah, it does now. Yeah. Hey, Apple, have you considered Doctor Who? Okay, anyway.
Here's someone's making that still. The rights might not have expired yet.
Yeah.
So, hey,
let's
give me
get
a synopsis
started,
about Severance. A spoiler-free synopsis about Severance. Can you? Because you can ask me about Gravity Falls next episode, and then I'll screw that up.
Sure. Okay. Severance is like The Office.
Yeah. Yeah.
if it was being directed by Darren Aronofsky.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I mean, but the one
Man.
who's actually directing it is freaking Ben Stiller, the Zoolander. I mean, like,
Right.
which actually throws me off a lot more. So, okay. So I'm a fan of The Good Place. We've talked about that before. And, and Parks and Recreation. So I'm obviously familiar with David Scott. So I heard that he was going to be in a show about, like they said, a dark workplace comedy directed by Ben Stiller. And I'm like, so I was already on board to watch it. But I thought it would be more of a comedy and less of a psychological experience. Basically, what Severance is, in a nutshell, is you have workers going to this company, and due to the classified nature of their work, and also due to the fact that a lot of them have things that they would best like to forget, they've opted to have an operation that splits their personality between a work personality and a home personality, and there's no information being passed in between. Apparently. But
Allegedly,
yes.
I'm just saying, it would take two people to hold down the ostrich. Never mind, that's a different show.
So basically, you have it for the person on the outside, the outie, as the show colloquially, I'm not using that word right, calls them. Colloquially, oh my goodness.
That's it.
I've forgotten how to speak. Anyway, calls them, basically is being paid, and as far as they're concerned, is never working. They report to the office in the morning, and then in the blink of an eye, they leave the office and go back to their life. Other than being forced to go to the building itself, they have no work responsibilities. And the person in this workplace personality is just one endless workday. And so but as someone who works for a company and works very hard, I'm like, so it's a documentary, like it's, there's, I think anybody who works like corporate or anything like that will see a lot of similarities in their own life. And it's just, it just ramped up to the absurd. And the scariest part about the show, I think, for me, is that the only reason we don't do this is because we don't have the technology. You know what I mean?
Right,
I am very worried that executives right now are watching Severance and going,
yes,
oh, this sounds like a good idea,
Maybe the pandemic saved us, though, because this show made a lot more sense before working from home became a thing people did.
That's true.
Frequently.
And
the whole myth of lack of productivity got chucked out the window.
Yeah. So anyway, that's our overview of the premise. Do you want to go through characters?
Sure. Am I specifically going through the characters? I got them right here.
Yeah, go for it.
Sweet. So we have the main character is Mark S. I think that's what the NE is known as. They all
Mark
have
Scout.
their first name. Scout. No one knows anyone's last name. It's just a letter.
Within the universe,
Right.
Within the office, yes.
Right.
Actually, no one knows each other at all outside of work.
Right. As far as they know, right?
As far as they know,
They opined about this. Do you think we know each other on the outside? Do we even like each other?
Do you think we're married on the? It's like it could be like it's
right. But you don't know. So we got the show starts with Helly R, who wakes up on a conference table disoriented, and she has to be given an orientation, a series of questions that are basically designed to prove that the severance procedure works. In later episodes, their office liaison,
Yeah.
not like quite a manager because Cobell is their manager, right?
Yeah.
Mr. Milchick is seen when he's bringing Helly R into the office for the first
Yeah.
time. He says some very specific things to her that make the questions that they ask in the first episode make sense in retrospect.
Yes.
Like what Mr. Egan's favorite breakfast is. So like things that they
That's right.
are making
That's
sure that you know, things that you just heard for short-term memory, and like long-term memory, like what do your mother's eyes look like? You know, things like that. So just proof that it works. It's terrifying, right?
Oh yeah.
But like you said, if there are some people, I'm sure, who would love to have a workplace like that, where you just have completely compliant sheep, and I mean that in a very religious and negative sense, because there's a whole religion around this company and its founders.
Yeah.
That is
You used
equal
sheep, but I think
parts.
goats would be
There
a
are
better
ghosts.
word.
There are literal goats
Yeah.
in it. So there's Mark S, and in his pod in the macrodata refinement division, you have Irv. Is it B? I didn't write
Irv
it
B.
down.
Yep.
Dylan G, and Heliar is the new hire to replace Petey,
PD.
who quit. No one knows what happened to Petey except
Retired. Yeah.
yeah. There was no warning, right? They threw a retirement party for the other person.
That's right.
That they had talked about, but Petey was just gone one day.
Yeah.
Except that there's on the outside when Mark S leaves work, and his Mark Scout, he sees this guy stalking him. And it's Petey. So all of a sudden we have this mystery. It's like, how does this guy know about his work and home life? Like what happened? Like what's going on? We also have Mark's sister, whose name completely escapes me. I did not write that down.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I've forgotten as well.
It's okay. I'll come around back to it. Her husband Rickon, who is
my favorite character.
A piece. Oh, sorry. His sister's name is Devin.
Yeah, Devin.
Rickon is. Rickon is great. He is such the awesome. He's an author, a very pretentious author, and such the antithesis of this whole like workplace establishment thing. He's like the not smart Karl Marx.
Yes, yeah, he's like
of this.
Oh my! It's you might be annoyed with the character at first, but by the end of the series, you're just gonna be like,
he's so endearing.
Perfect. It was
Ultimately.
just absolutely perfect.
I had to admit I was a little annoyed at first that Helly wasn't like the perspective character, because we come into the show with her just as disoriented, and we end up with Mark, who's like this milquetoast dude. It's like, I'm sad my wife died. I'm gonna go to this work thing and not think about my wife for a while. It's actually pretty good though. I got over that really quick, and there are very good reasons why we don't see Helly's life outside of work, which I will not say.
Okay, I'd like to proceed by saying, just so that we're able to have a conversation about this show at all, we're going to have to spoil about the first 3 or 4 episodes. We're not going to go into any real. We're not going to spoil, because it would be a disservice to anybody.
Correct.
Who hasn't watched it. But before season 2 comes out, I would like to revisit this show in a total spoiler episode, because I have things to say.
Well, I mean, we could have a spoiler section of this one. We could.
I don't know if I'd want to do that to people, because we're so endearing. People will listen to it anyway, no matter how many warnings we give them. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
okay. Fair enough. Yeah, because especially you get to that last episode, which
the last two episodes alone, I could probably talk for 20 hours on. So it's one of those shows.
Right.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So the last episode of the show is like 55 minutes long, and I watched a YouTube video that was 2.5 hours long discussing that, and it was part 1. So like, because the show is, as far as I can tell, there are no wasted shots.
Yeah.
what I mean by that is anything that the camera person has taken the time to show will come back later or possibly in season 2. Like anything that
Right.
doesn't make
Yes.
sense now,
Correct.
because the show is just shot in such a way that like you will hear it, the first scene is tremendously powerful. It is kind of a amazingly lit green, red, brown, lying on a conference table that looks very much from the top like a casket.
Yeah. Oh, good call.
I mean, just look at that. So like, no idea where she is, and there's this disembodied voice, and the first words that come out are, "Who are you?"
Right.
Which is really creepy because you're thinking that this is going to be the big bad from the show. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
it's this creepy voice controlling or whatever, and it sounds very sinister. It sounds very planned. It sounds like you're watching a Saw movie or something like that. It's like it's
Yeah.
and
Nope.
she doesn't
Nailed
know
it.
who she is. She's forgotten, and he just keeps going on and asking these questions, which are getting more and more sinister. I think, like, do you know what U.S. state you were born in?
Mhm.
Can you name any U.S. state? And then it's
Right.
like,
And they
what?
can.
Yeah,
but-
what is Kieran's favorite breakfast? Which again you mentioned earlier comes back, and then it was like, what is the color of your mother's eyes? Were these
Just-
questions, and like
that's when it guts you because they like I don't even know. I don't even know my mom's name. Like it just
and you're like,
Terrifying.
what? Because now, if you go in totally blind, you don't know what's going on either. So I showed
Right.
that scene to my wife, and my wife's like, I don't like this. I don't like this. I feel very uncomfortable right now. And I'm like,
You should
keep
Yeah.
watching. Because if you keep watching, you find out that it wasn't that the whole premise is still sinister, but
Right.
that voice is belonging to a guy who's trying his best
Yes.
in the background, kind of messing up, because you get to see so many scenes from another perspective
Right.
at another moment.
In this case, in the same episode, they don't wait to
Yep,
tell you
yep.
what's going on there. You get that perspective right away.
But there's plenty of things established in the first episode that don't pay off until later episodes.
right.
Like when Helly R attempts to leave the building and is unable to,
Right.
it made no sense
Right.
until the second episode, where you find out, oh, okay, and then that's what this is the first time I think I finished the series and immediately started again
Oh, same. Right.
and watched it through, and I enjoyed it more the second time
Yeah.
because I knew
Absolutely.
where it was going, and now I was just putting the clues together. We are in 2 series with a lot of clues, aren't we? Like,
Yes.
we'll talk about that later,
Yes.
but
I won't lie. I watched this show 3 times before we recorded this.
oh,
So,
okay. I watched it twice, but I watched the pilot 3 times,
Okay.
and I want to watch it again with now that I've watched a bunch of YouTube videos on it, and I want to watch it specifically focused on colors.
Oh, you should share that video with me because I'm not. That's ooh.
Watch the show again and focus on red, blue, and green.
Dang it! You know what this reminds me of? Did
Yeah.
you ever watch Awake?
No.
I think it was an NBC TV show.
Was it the one that has... I think I watched the first episode of it because it was like one of those free trial things on Apple TV. Like back when Apple TV was before Apple TV. Like
Okay.
they used to have pilots that you could download for free
Okay.
off their by basically iTunes of TV service.
Yes. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Jason Isaacs. Jason
Okay.
Isaac or Isaacs?
Yeah,
I can't
yeah.
remember. You know, Lucius Malfoy from Harry
right.
Potter.
Yeah, I did, and I thought it
Okay.
was really an interesting premise, and then I heard it was canceled, so I never watched anymore. So Yeah.
If you can find a way to watch it, I would love to talk about
Yeah.
it because I watched
Okay.
the whole season and I really enjoyed it. They knew they got canceled, so they were able to wrap it up.
Oh, were
kind of.
they?
Yeah.
I might actually. Okay, I thought it was like a sudden cancellation, and I hate that. I hate investing in a
agreed.
series and.
Agreed.
But
Yeah.
anyway,
The reason I brought it up was because
Yeah.
of the color thing. So he has
Yeah.
this accident and his wife dies. But when he goes to sleep, it's post-accident and it's his son who died. And then he keeps going to sleep in the other reality. And then, but there's like parallel things that he's a cop, right?
Yeah.
So he's like putting together this mystery of like he realizes someone put a hit on him.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this accident happened for a reason. But he's living these two different realities where, his family is broken, but for different reasons.
Yeah.
And there's a color thing there too, where like in one reality it's like all like cyan, and in the other reality it's magenta.
Yeah.
It's a very common like cinematic color shift thing. Is it magenta or is it orange? I can never remember. But that's yeah. I won't say much more than that. But that's interesting. So I should look out for red, green, and blue. You said.
Yeah. Basically,
Okay.
I mean,
well, I'll watch it a fourth time. Don't have to twist
Okay.
my arm.
Okay. I mean, the simplest ones you can think of when you're thinking of that is just basically the tone and how characters dress, because characters dress very. Heliar is always in blue, and she's got that bright red hair.
Yeah.
You're gonna notice things like the candle. You're gonna notice the apartment. You're gonna notice. Okay, I'll give you one. And for anybody who's watched the show, this will be fun. And for anyone who hasn't, this will be fun. Think about in Mark S's apartment, he has a fish tank.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Now, the type of fish in there are betas. Are you familiar with beta?
No.
They're a type of fairly aggressive fish that if you have two males, they will fight each other. They're considered fighting fish. Often, like in a lot of countries, they take bets on because these fish will fight to the death for territory.
Oh,
okay, so those are betas. But anyway, I think it's spelled Betta. I don't know. Beta.
Okay.
It might be beta. I'm not sure. It's
Okay.
one of those things that I've read but not. But anyway, he's got two of them in his fish tank, one blue and one red, separated by glass.
Fascinating.
So they can't see each other. And if they did, they would definitely kill each other.
Wow.
And think about your opening. Think about the red pajamas Mark wears. Think about the suit that he wears.
Sure.
Like, it's deliberate. It's very, very deliberate. The coloring in this show.
God.
So, but like, I noticed it a little bit when I was watching it, but now that I'm sensitive to it, I want to watch the show again with that in mind. Yeah.
Something else to kind of look out for is
sure.
I mean, they mention it in the show, but like basically like the in-office personnel or the innie, like their entire experience of their life is within the four walls of their office.
That's
so
right.
as far as they're concerned, they're only a few years old apiece, depending on
That's right.
when they started work. And then retirement effectively means, or quitting effectively means their death. And if you look at the difference between personalities, because Mark's really the only one we really get to see in and outside of the office.
That's right.
Like he seems a lot more naive and childlike.
Oh, definitely.
And
definitely.
I don't know if it's easy to pick up on that right away, because the personalities, they're not different people.
No,
they're different developmentally. Like it's you definitely know that there's no crossover between their memories and thoughts. But like Mark will come into the office and his coworkers will say, "Were you crying?" He's like, well, "I don't know."
Yep.
Or like, they never get to experience going to sleep.
Do you have a hangover? Like, they don't know what. yeah, we don't actually sleep, but we recognize that we suddenly feel refreshed. It's like,
Right.
like
Right.
it's such a weird, and like it's so high concept though that you'd think you wouldn't be able to feel sympathy for the characters because it's such a sci-fi-ish concept, but
Right.
but I'll tell you, more so than any of the technology, it's a character piece. Like this whole thing,
Yes.
like for the most part, it could be a play.
It was a play originally,
Oh, I thought it was a book.
or a
Or
book.
maybe was it a
I
screenplay?
thought it, I
I'm
thought
not
it was
sure.
a play.
I'm not sure, but like it totally could be, because basically, other than the occasional, the last episode you couldn't, but like the
Right.
first number of episodes have very few different set pieces. They're just, and it's very, very interesting, and because of it, dialogue is very important, and um I don't know. It's put together so well that like there's not much wasted space.
Right.
There are huge moments where nothing is apparently happening, and there's a lot of silences that you wouldn't see on a lot of shows these days. There's a
Yeah.
lot of
There's no
looks. Yeah.
speaking per se, but
Yes.
there's definitely a lot of sound engineering. Like I watched this thing where
Yes.
like they discussed just like walking around the corridors and like
That's right.
turning
Yeah.
corners, just
Yep.
like this,
Yep.
just like this imperceptible whooshing sound that happens,
Yep. Yep.
which
Yep.
I don't know. It really makes you feel closed in because they're in this basement level where there's no windows,
Yeah.
right? Like they are in the dark, literally and figuratively, because they're also
Yep.
in this like 4-person department, this macro
That's
data
right.
refinement department that they don't even know what they do. Like they already like severed from their own cells, but like
Yep.
it's not clear what their job is, which is great because otherwise we'd spend all our time with them doing their jobs, spending most of the time inside the office trying to solve the
That's
mystery
right.
of what the hell it is that they actually do there.
Yeah. And the office is also somewhat of a religion,
More than somewhat.
more than somewhat. Yes.
Irv
Yeah.
especially seems a particular adherent to this religion,
Yeah.
who's played by
That's
John
right.
Turturro, by the way, masterfully, I might add.
Oh my,
These are all comedic actors. These are all comedians,
I
right?
know.
That are in this show and who are directing this show. Like, but it's not. It's only dryly funny. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, there are parts that are absolutely hilarious, like the music dance experience. But even
my
the
God.
funny parts have an edge of terror.
The egg salad bar, the waffle party, covered as you know what.
The maraca. Should have chosen the castanets. It's just like
Yes, Satoshi, this show is incredibly creepy,
yes,
but it's manageable.
yes.
If that makes sense. It's very
is-
tense though.
But actually, that's one of the things that I enjoyed watching it the second time, because I was no longer so on the edge of my seat. I knew what was coming, and I could appreciate what was coming, more. And this show is not, for the most part, there's not much actual violence in it. There is a little bit.
There's
Not. Yeah, there's a little bit.
Someone does try to kill themselves.
Yeah, but like, it's intense, but it's also routine.
Yeah.
And I think that's the creepiest part,
Yeah.
is a lot of this stuff
real.
happens and it's just keeping on. It's I wouldn't call it horror.
No. It's suspense for sure.
I'd call it a psychological thriller.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Psychological. I'd call it a dark comedy workplace psychological thriller.
Yes. I've barely mentioned Patricia Arquette yet. She plays their manager, well, director, Ms. Cobell, but you also
my
see her on
goodness.
the outside as Mrs. Selvig, who is
Yeah.
Mark's neighbor, and she is awake outside.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
And you have to wonder because he lives in the subdivision that's meant specifically for employees of the Lumen
employees, yeah.
Corporation, where he works. So they're keeping an eye on him specifically.
Which we're not entirely sure exactly why. There's a few
Right.
hints, but why it's Mark specifically,
Right.
I'm guessing is a season 2 thing. I have
Sure.
I have theories,
Which you can't
But
talk
it-
about, of
but
course.
but it hasn't been pointed out yet.
Sure.
We also have a workplace psychologist.
I can never pronounce her name
And-
right. Is it Daichen Lockman? Daichen Lockman? I can never say her name right.
Oh my
I've
goodness.
seen her before in TV shows.
I remember her from Altered Carbon and what was the one? Josh Wendon, Dollhouse.
Oh, she was in Dollhouse, wasn't she?
She was in Dollhouse. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh well, this feels very much
She
like
was
Dollhouse.
she was Sierra on Dollhouse, and yeah, I get Dollhouse vibes from this. So
If you guys haven't watched Dollhouse, basically is where people like get their personality wiped and a new one rewritten onto them, and then
wow,
Eliza
she has a
Dushku's-
character type, doesn't she?
She sure does. Eliza Dushku's character
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
one that proves that this process, there's still like a base personality there.
Yep.
Despite this, like they aren't just like literal blank slates. So there are a lot of parallels now that you mention that. That's fantastic. That was an enjoyable show. I didn't think I was going to like that at first, but ended up being a very interesting show. And Felicia Day got to star in a few episodes of that as well.
Yep. Only 2 seasons of that one though, but
That's true.
considering it came right after Firefly, seemed like a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
She plays Ms. Casey, so it's one of those things where it's like
Yeah.
she doesn't have like the whatever C name that other people
Yeah.
do. Like the people who aren't severed typically that what their last name is.
Yeah.
But in her case, there's heavy implication that she never leaves the office.
Yeah. So it's very how everything plays out is, I mean, this is a show that I recommend going into almost blind. I mean, I'm hoping, we haven't spoiled much. It may sound like we do, but like everything we've talked about here comes into play within the first couple episodes.
Sure.
So, and we're not hitting on the second half at all. It's definitely worth watching.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I heard that.
I just,
Okay, you go ahead.
oh, sure.
No
I-
talkie. Okay.
I don't know when he comes in, but I have to mention like Christopher Walken as Bert. Is it Bert R?
Yeah.
Bert something.
Or was it Bert B?
I don't remember.
And
Bert.
Earl R. Okay.
He's-
Whatever. Bert.
He works in a different department. He's the first person they meet outside of their particular structure who works in a
Yes,
different
that's right.
department. And like he and Irv, they are adorable.
Oh my goodness.
They're so good. And apparently John Turturro specifically asked
Yep.
for
Christopher
for
Walken,
him to be
yeah.
on the show.
Yeah.
And it's just wonderful. You gotta
Oh my god.
you gotta see it.
I came in because those new compliance manuals. We've got new what was it, new covers for them or new dust jackets or something.
It's the tote
I didn't
bags.
want to.
There's a new tote bag.
I didn't want to. I was worried it would hurt your workflow if you didn't get them right away. So I came by to deliver them. It's so cute and it's so funny and it's so sad.
It's so sad.
Like
It's so sad.
And then once you find out about interdepartmental wars, and like it's just
Not just that, but like
Yeah.
deliberate
yes.
misinformation on the part of the company itself to be like, what is going on at this Lumen place? Like you should feel uncomfortable with the whole thing, guys.
Oh yeah.
Like it's like corporate mentality, like ad absurdum. It's just
Yeah.
things could go this way if certain people get their way. And in fact, in the story of the show, you know, they're pushing legislation to make Severance a legal, regular, cool, totally normal thing.
Oh yeah.
So yeah,
it is great,
it
and
is
it is
wonderful.
scary, and it is a cautionary tale.
I didn't even look at my notes hardly at all for any of this. Is there anything that I didn't say yet? I'm interested in knowing what Cobell's deal is, because she is like a religious adherent to this company, and I want to know why. Because there's something with her mother.
Yeah, that's what I'm. Yeah, mother, child.
It's funny because she mentions
My guess is
both-
mother, because she mentions her mother a lot. So.
right, and the date on that one medical thing was
Oh yeah.
1944. But she mentions as an innie that her father was an atheist, as Ms. Cobell, and
Mother.
then as an
Yeah.
out her father. No, I wrote this down specifically. Her father was an atheist, and as an outie,
No. Mother.
her father,
It's mother.
it's father. I wrote it down, and then her mother was a Catholic.
No, I thought it was that I was pretty sure it was the mother both times, because it was like, didn't you just say your mother was a, so.
I can watch it again, but I specifically wrote down her and he mentions father was an atheist. Audi mentions that mother was a Catholic. The audience gets to know these things because we get to see both sides, but the person she tells this to would have no idea.
Nope, the line is, my mother was an atheist. She used to say that there was good news and bad news about hell.
That's a great line, by the way.
Yeah.
That's
The
actually
good
the first
news
episode,
is-
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. The good news is hell is just a product of a morbid human imagination. But the bad news, but what was it? The bad news is that what is it we seek to create? I gotta see the whole.
Humans can tend to create what they imagine, something like that.
Oh yes, yeah. The bad news is whatever humans can imagine, they usually create.
Yes, there you go. And
Okay.
being severed is like being in hell.
And I mean that the first episode is called "The Good News." The what is it? The good news about hell?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I gotta bring up a meme. I gotta bring up a meme because there are not enough good Severance memes. I really hoped there would, but I don't think the show hasn't taken off enough yet.
Okay.
There's definitely people who like it, but it hasn't hit that. But there was one I saw or whatever, and you know the classic skit with Saturday Night Live skit with Christopher Walken, and where he comes in, it's got, oh no, why can't I remember his name? Elf.
Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell, and they're doing the band practice.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
The Blue Oyster Cult. Yep.
Yeah, something like that.
Don't fear the
But
Reaper.
anyway, so they've got pictures of that scene, and he's coming in, and he's like, you know what this workplace needs? More Cobell.
Wonderful.
In reference to the more cowbell. Yeah, it's
Beautiful.
it's just like, oh. I'm like, did they
That's
name
great.
that character that just so that meme could exist?
Possibly.
Yeah, just wonderful. Yeah. I don't know what else to say about this other than we often talk about shows that we like on this podcast. Sure. And I didn't know for sure that I was going to like it as much as this. And frankly, we're trying to occasionally hit upon a show that we don't agree on. Sure. Star Trek was a little bit of that, but like
a little bit.
But often we we end saying that we recommend watching a show, but I would say that I'm going to give this one my absolute highest recommendation, just because it's something that you'll want to be part of the conversation. Because I think when season two hits, everyone's going to spoil season 1 right away. You know, you're at a place right now where enough people have seen it, but not enough that it has entered the zeitgeist of exactly what happens in season 1. Right. So I would say watch it now, because I think when series 2 comes out, it'll be impossible to get the impact that series 1 has right now, because you're going to know what happens before it starts.
And I'll say too that I was thinking about canceling my Apple TV Plus subscription until like the next season of something else came along, like Ted Lasso or whatever. Because even though it's the cheapest of the ones that I watched, I wasn't really watching it anymore. And then I watched this show, and now I just feel like I owe them my money. So, I guess the last thing I'll say real quick is like, what is up with those goats? Like, I've been listening to a lot of like Game of Thrones mythical astronomy stuff with David Lightbringer, aka Lucifer means Lightbringer. And he's talked a lot about like the symbolism of the horned animal as a sacrificial animal. Of course. And given the religious bent of this company, you gotta believe that there's something up with these goats. So right.
I mean, it could be any number of things. You know, you've got all the biblical references of separating the sheep from the goats, meaning both are sacrificial creatures, but the goats are evil. But I haven't seen sheep in the show yet. I haven't seen sheep, so like it might be coming later. I mean, there's the satanic connection with goat faces and things like that. But again,
there's an anthropomorphic goat in a painting. Like
there is. Yep. There is a waffle party.
What does that to do with goats? But the waffle party is weird, man. It is weird. Shout out to Dylan, by the way, being like the
MVP
MVP of the first season.
Oh my goodness. Dylan, I found it to be an annoying character at first. It's like, oh, he's that guy. Yeah. But by the end, it's like, oh, you feel so sympathetic for Dylan, and oh my goodness. Now watch the waffle party again.
Yeah, man.
Okay. Anyway, I don't want to. Yeah.
We should probably
let's talk. Let's have a very spoilery return to it slightly before season 2 comes out.
Yeah, man.
And by season, we're using the American term. For us British fans out there, you'd use series. Right. Which we would refer to as a completely different thing.
Yeah. What do you call? Do you just call a show at that point, like a different show? Different,
I don't know.
Really big shoe.
A really big shoe. Yeah.
All right. I wish we could say more spoilery things. Well, yeah, you're right. We'll save it for another time. That's a good idea.
I and there's so much more. There's another whole episode in there. So.
Apparently, I'm not prepared to talk spoilers with you anyway, so this is good for me to like look that stuff up, and for you too, dear listener and our viewer.
Oh yeah. Please join us again. I know not a lot. We don't have a lot of people watching live right now, but for those of you who listen to this on the podcast, we would love to hear what you're thinking of Severance, or if you watch it because of this show, let us know what you think.
Absolutely. All right.
Okay.
And then join us for our next episode, which is coming right up here after we play the outro to this one.
All right.
And away we go.
Thank you for making it to the end of another episode of Two Boobs Watch the Tube. If you would like to support these boobs, please subscribe. Like us on iTunes and tell a friend. If you want to give us a big push up, donate to the Famicom Dojo Patreon found in the show notes. There you can also find info about sponsoring an episode, and also info about the other great shows, and one bad one, on the Nerd and Tie Network. Until next time, keep it classy.